Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first season, episode number 1 of Developers, a podcast about software engineering, productivity, and many other amazing things. I say hi to Modestas. Hi, Modestas.
Hi, Giovanni. It's an honor to be the first one on your podcast.
I can say the same.
Me.
And a few information more about Modestas. Modestas Jurčius is the CTO and co-founder of Persikas. Persikas is an application in the healthcare world, and fitness. We will talk a little bit about that as well. Modestas has a background as a software engineer, and he has spent a vast part of his life building products. So we will try to tap into your brain, Modestas, and get something interesting for our audience. So I usually start with what is closer to us, and that would be what are the challenges that you are currently facing and you think that in general the world of software engineering is all about in these days? Tell us more about that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, currently in Persikas, and I think everywhere in every company, the main challenge is how to make everything faster and reliable at the same time, which is a bit of a hard thing to balance out sometimes. And sometimes you lean more to one thing over the other, and vice versa. I can tell you more from a startup perspective. So, for example, when we started Persikas, we were bootstrapping, and we are still are bootstrapping. So we kind of started by hiring one software engineer who was doing the web application. I was doing the AI part and the backend infrastructure. And the main goal was to go directly to market as fast as possible. And honestly, we balanced the speed and we forgot about quality altogether. It was very crappy code. It was a lot of things were crashing quite often. But I think that speed allowed us to kind of go to the market very fast and test our idea and also pivot from time to time and kind of get early feedback from users. So we built the MVP in about a month, less than that, and we made our first sale afterwards and started instantly collecting feedback from our users. So that allowed us for quick development. Obviously, since we were mainly focusing on the speed, we didn't focus that much on quality, and in third, fourth month started having a lot of issues. And then we said, okay, let's step down and let's focus only on quality. Let's rewrite everything, make it proper. Let's build an app and actually start building everything kind of more reliable, so our users would not be writing, in our Facebook group like, oh, I can't log in, the system is down. So yeah,
Fantastic.
basically, I think this is the main challenge that at least the startups from the tech perspective are facing.
Uh, this is great because it's not always easy to get the feedback from a person who's been hands-on in this part of a journey of a company, and like what I'm a lot interested in is particularly when it comes to being a full stack, having to deal with like backend, front end, having to deal literally with everything of a product.
Yeah.
How do you manage maintaining some level of productivity? Do you have any tips, any lesson learned, maybe something that you've learned by in hindsight, and you would like to share it with our audience?
Yes, the thing is to do everything one by one. Actually, like if you start the day, you would want to kind of prioritize what is the top priority of the tasks that you want to accomplish. And obviously, since you would be full stack and working, especially full stack, meaning that you're also part of the management for the tech part and everything else. You obviously are gonna get a lot of distractions throughout the day, and you kind of sometimes have to filter those distractions out. If they are less important, you need to kind of weigh in what is good for the customers right now, for the business right now, and for your employees right now. So once you weigh everything in, you can start kind of filter out what is not important and what is important. The common mistake, and I think what leads to burnout most often, and I sometimes kind of have to remind myself, is not to have a racing mind and think about like 10 things at the same time, because then you kind of, if you're doing 10 things at the same time, you very get distracted very quickly to do like 11, 15, 17 thing at the same time, and then you kind of, your brain overfries, you get too much dopamine rush in your brain, and all of a sudden you are listening to some podcast and are overwhelmed at the end of the day. You can't sleep properly because you have a racing thoughts. So I think, yeah, it's filtering out the noise and kind of prioritizing what you actually need to do in advance and doing those things one by one.
I really like
And
this.
one,
This principle looks to me very like Toyota-like in a way, like very lean and organized. I think it's surely useful to be.
it's you need to really be, you must be organized in one way or another. Obviously, it's hard sometimes because those ad hoc tasks are coming like rain from the sky, but yeah, you need to kind of balance things out.
There is a great tool that is getting very popular these days about getting us more productive, getting us all more organized. Maybe I don't know. We will discuss about it, and that's artificial intelligence. So I wanted to ask, in your experience, I've read a post on your LinkedIn a few days ago, which tells a nice story. Maybe you want to share that about how do you think artificial intelligence is going to shape the profession of software engineers? And like, what uh, in your journey is the role of that tool? What do you think is the place for that tool in your work?
Hmm? Um, I think right now, what AI is doing is making everyone more productive. I'm not saying like we are at this time where, for example, AI help us like developers do 10x the work they would be able to do by themselves. But definitely day to day, I, at least from my perspective, I think I save like 2 3 hours a day for sure. It's just like you need to code some repetitive things like a backend endpoint of like, I don't know, whatever. And honestly, the first thing that I do, I usually open ChatGPT, or um, I started using Cursor quite recently. So I opened the chat and basically, well, describe what I want in a couple of sentences, and I get the code out of it, and then I kind of modify it to make sure that it actually works, test it, and and also use AI to write the unit tests. That helps a lot and increases the productivity. So as of now, I would say definitely AI, for me at least, saves like about 2 hours, 3 hours every day.
Well, pretty impressive. I think you just said it. Like there is a way in which AI can make us all more productive in a more generic way, and there is also a group of tasks for which AI is perfect. You mentioned unit testing. I think, yeah, I think there are several others when we go into like repetitive tasks in the world
Yeah.
of software
Um,
development. Yeah, there are
I'm
some.
trying to always, in my team, to encourage everyone to use these tools and search for new ones. So, for example, quite recently we started using CodeRabbit.
Mhm.
That one is actually quite interesting. It automatically reviews PRs um, of software engineers, and basically also asked for some feedback from our senior developers, whether that tool helped or not. They said that it might not save them hours short term, but it, like, AI right now seems to be more attentive than a a developer, because if you're reviewing, like, let's say, I don't know, couple hundred of lines of code, which might not be an ideal pull request, but still happens. AI is way more attentive and has much bigger attention span than a developer, for example. So it kind of pinpoints some parts that developers might skip, and those parts might cause a crash or some sort of malfunction in the future. So these kind of um, problems that are detected by AI right now definitely save up time long term, and make everything more kind of productive in a way.
I think something is coming up when I speak about this topic with you and many others, that sometimes humans are the real obstacle to AI, for AI to be productive within itself. And, on a serious note, we are at the end responsible for the integrity of the code we write. And like, there should be like a human validator of what is the quality of the product. That's
Yeah.
important. But you just said, that in the beginning, probably like going fast and breaking bridges and trying to run, it's probably more valuable because it allows you to get exposed to clients faster. So it's
Yeah,
seems like a
for
match
sure.
made in heaven. Yeah, and probably like you are. I'm going to ask a few questions before we get to the point. For how many years you are into software development? When you started coding, tell me more about
Mhm.
that.
Oh, well, I think I started when I was 18. I graduated high school, and I wanted to go and study physics for my undergrad. I kind of figured out that I might not be the best kind of physicist. I might not have like a physicist brain. So I always thought that, what, I need to try software engineering because I had my best friend in high school who was really into algorithms all the time. He won a lot of competitions on those times in competitive programming. And as I was spending time with him, he always kind of, was nonstop talking about these algorithms and explaining me things how they work without me even asking about it. But it was really interesting, and I kind of got hooked. So I remember I graduated in summer. I had like, I think, 1 month to apply for universities, and I decided to put kind of software systems in KTU as the number one kind of option. And during that month, I learned like web development,
Okay.
and I understood so my tech stack back then was
Oh,
like
wow. Okay.
basic PHP, JavaScript, and some HTML and CSS. So nothing fancy. And in the meantime, I also was studying algorithms with like C++ and trying to find books on it to read more about it. And somewhere in when I went to the university, somewhere at year two, I decided to start going more in depth on AI, and especially was interested in neural networks, optimization. So I've also found a good friend of mine who we we both went into AI together,
Hmm.
and we all afterwards even went to the same master's program to study artificial intelligence in Edinburgh University. Um, and yeah, and afterwards I was also always fascinated in startups. So I co-founded a startup in my master's degree as well. That was really a lot of fun. I also led the technical team there. And afterwards, like a year ago, I started um, Persikas. And in the meantime, I also like did various gigs like in AI research. Was interested in neural NLP,
Hmm.
but it was before uh, like GPT-3 and GPT-4
Okay.
came out.
Wow.
So there was a bit different times, but at that time I kind of figured out that I might not be able to do much there because, well, I saw that you need a lot of compute power, and that is kind of more limited to the big corporations and or like highly funded research institutions. So decided to go to like neurosymbolic AI. Went to Cambridge, worked with Samsung to publish a paper in ICML, and yeah, I did a lot of things that were not really related to software engineering as well. But overall, I think, well, to answer your question short, I think I'm software engineer for like almost 10 years now.
Wow. I like how
But
you
yeah, I did
arrived
a lot of things.
there. You told us a beautiful story
Hello?
of you. And I think the lessons I learned from that is that you need nice mentors and people that are passionate about what they do. And they're going to touch your life somehow. And the second is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you need to be curious. You were curious all the time. You explored new areas. Yeah,
exactly. And be with likewise, like-minded people as well, who always seek knowledge. So this is the best advice that I can give to anyone who is, for example, starting out and or just want to get better. Is just find a
we
group
discussed
of
about this
people.
topic a long time ago, and yeah, I know that you're a big advocate of that, and I agree. I agree with you. Uh, I asked you how much time you are in there because I'm thinking about the person who's watching, listening this, and is new to software engineering. You gave already a lot of useful tips, I think, for getting into the professional learning. But are there any like specific insights that you have on starting today? Probably the best question would be, what would you do if you would start today as a software engineer?
Um, well, I can tell you what I would be doing differently.
That's good.
I I think you need to find mentors really quickly who are more advanced than you. I was doing it. It was a big mistake for me for not finding mentors early on, especially when I joined the my undergrad university. I didn't have any mentors there, and I'm kind of regretting that. I think it slowed me down professionally, because I had like a big ego, and I think a lot of software engineers do have that. So sometimes you need to put your ego aside and kind of know that you will get faster with someone by your side telling you all the kind of shortcuts to achieve your goals than figuring it out everything else by yourself. So yeah, this is what I would suggest: find mentors, ask, if you are in university, ask professors for feedback, talk to them, engage with them, and they are really really open to helping you, and that's why they are there. And also the what I would also suggest is also try to use as much AI as possible right now, especially with large language models and like code generation and everything else. Don't forget to use that, because I think if you don't use it, you're left behind, because those who use it uh, are also able to kind of do everything much faster. And AI is a really good educator as well. Like I often don't know a question of how to solve a problem, for example, don't know tools that would solve those problems. So I just open, ChatGPT and asks, or Perplexity, or whatever language model you decide to
Big
use.
fan of perplexity here, if you ask me. Fantastic. Wow, Modestas, thanks. These are like things that are more useful than I thought they could be ever for a first episode. So thank you for that. I think we covered a bit of everything. And is there any like probably message or lesson learned that you would like to share with the listeners of this podcast before we say bye?
Um, well, try to do. Good question.
Take
Um,
your time.
well, advice for younger people is to try different things. Try, different. Um, you can try different career paths. Try different. If you're studying software engineering, try biology. Go to a biology department and take a class from there. Study like human psychology, study marketing. Like try to collect as much knowledge as possible in your youth, I'm still doing that, and I think I will be continuing doing that as much as possible. And I think when you have wide range of knowledge, you are more able to, like, create a to use all this knowledge to solve problems. I'm also, obviously, if you want to be a specialist in the field, and, like, for example, all you care is backend engineering, and you want to be number one at that, then you must study only that. And, well, I would still sprinkle in some side industries, but yeah, I myself, I picked that path and I'm happy about it. But
I
for
like it. I like
yeah,
it. Modest is like keep an open mind. At the end of the day, uh,
open exactly.
plasticity is a good thing. So you can just do it for the sake of it because it's fun. But yeah,
Exactly.
I think that when we are looking at the top performance and the people that are really ahead, they do have a sprinkle of diversity in their diet, in what they consume. So yeah, that's absolutely a great advice. So yeah, I have to thank you and see you around.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Giovanni. It
Ciao.
was a pleasure.
My pleasure. Bye.